journey starts with the first step.
And today I'd like to share with you some of the steps that I've been taking as a singer and a songwriter. But it's important that I first explain that music was never my intended path. I was happily studying psychology and anthropology when, on my 20th birthday, out of nowhere, I wrote song lyrics. And in that moment of putting pen to paper, my life changed irreversibly. So I didn't choose music, it chose me. But once the choice had been made, it awoke within me a passion to want to share the songs that I was writing with people, to have them go into their homes and into their hearts and hopefully become part of the soundtrack of their lives. And it was a big and very exciting dream. But for many years, the thought of actually stepping out my front door and doing anything about it terrified me. And it took the unexpected and devastating death of my father to wake me up to the fact that life is incredibly fragile and fleeting, and that I didn't want to get to the end of mine with this lingering question, what if? So I started asking myself, who would you be, Verity, if you weren't so afraid? What chances would you take? And it was at that point that I finally bid farewell to this ever-constant companion fear, and I stepped onto the road of being a professional musician. It was liberating, it was exciting, but as with all things, it brought with it new challenges and obstacles. And the biggest of these was when I discovered that if I wanted to record an album, it was going to cost me between 300,000 to 400,000 rand. And given that South African music doesn't sell very well, and traditionally English-speaking artists hardly ever make back the money on their investment, it once again felt like an impossible endeavor. And I was faced with a choice. I could give up, or I could get creative. Because while life had handed me this extraordinary problem, I realized it was also giving me the opportunity to start asking extraordinary questions about, isn't there a way to approach the music industry and the way we fund music differently? So I sat down with my sister over a cup of coffee to brainstorm how we could move forward in the music industry. And using Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats, we started unpacking this question of how could I record and market an album without going into debt? And at the end of our session, the idea that I'd had was that if money was the problem, then I was going to take it out the equation completely. And instead, I would tap into this expanding power of the internet and the fact that it's connecting people around the world in increasingly significant ways. And I would set up a website where I could invite people from anywhere to buy an album that I hadn't recorded. And I was going to sell an album that didn't exist. And as future owners, they would get to have their names put on my website, they would vote for which songs I recorded, and they would essentially join me on the journey that any artist takes when they're trying to get their music out into the public sphere. So it was certainly a different way to approach the music industry, and one that was going to be very empowering to me as an artist, which got me to thinking about, couldn't I also use it as a platform to make a difference? So I decided that 16 Rand from every album that I sold would be split between 2 charities. The first being People Opposing Women Abuse and the invaluable work that they do in our country. And the second being the Live Your Dreams Foundation to help other musicians get started in their careers. So here I was, I had a crazy idea, and again, life was presenting me with a choice. Did I let it be worth the napkin that I'd scribbled it on, or did I actually get out the box and start acting on it? So what I started doing was I started talking to people. Anyone who would listen, I told them about my idea. And the more that I spoke about it, the more space it seemed to create for people to step up and offer their support. And within a few months, I'd had a website developed, I'd had posters sponsored, the first newsletter had gone out, and the Lucky Packet project, as I was calling it, was finally underway. And I was getting to see that my word was creating my world. The way that I was speaking about the project, about my vision for my music, about my desire to try and make a difference, was determining the kind of experiences that were actually showing up. And this thing that at first had felt so impossible was starting to become an experience of, I'm possible, and it's possible. Because for the first time in my life, I was actually taking action. And as a result, I can stand here today and I can share with you that over 2,000 people in 25 countries around the world said yes to buying an album that didn't exist. They made it possible for me to step into studio at the end of 2007 and realize my dream of recording the album and release it last year after having posted each one of them a copy with their names and the artwork, celebrating not only that we'd done it so differently, but that we'd also managed to raise over 30,000 rand for the charities. We've been able to go into Power's shelters and give them linen and crockery and cutlery. We've been able to pay for 2 young singers to record their first demos. Incidentally, one of those singers, Mimi Ntenjua, last year won Best Young Jazz Artist at the Metro FM Awards. So it was incredible to see how her career is also taking off. And it's been a roller coaster. It's been the most incredible journey. And when I started, what I knew was that at the end of it, I wanted to record an album. But it was actually the things I didn't know that were going to happen along the way that have made it such a profound experience. Because if anyone had told me it was going to take 3 years to finish, I promise you I would never have started. I wouldn't have begun. But it was because it took that time that it taught me a quite humbling lesson of patience and the fact that anything worth doing well is going to take time. And as a result, I've discovered in myself an ability to persist and persevere that I didn't know I had. And it's been incredibly rewarding to have my perseverance and my patience pay off in some beautiful and unexpected ways. One of them being the fact that I get to stand on stages like this. And I get to share this story with people about what's possible for anyone when we say yes to an idea and take the first step of seeing what can be done. Because if I hadn't started, I would never have known the incredible generosity that exists out there, that I would be connected to complete strangers around the world who would join me. One example is an American businessman stood up and bought 100 albums and then donated them back to the charities. I didn't know that that existed. I also could never have anticipated that the blogging community and the media would embrace the project and that articles would spring up around the world encouraging people to join me. And one of them in Argentina led to an email from a man there saying, I love what you're doing, I really want to be part of it, I don't have a credit card, but I'm going to try and make a plan. And you can imagine my surprise when a few months later I was contacted by a South African woman just back from a holiday in Buenos Aires. And she came and she handed me an envelope from him with $20 in it. And he'd written on the front, Verity, South Africa, IamVerity.com. And she found me and he joined my journey. I also would never have imagined when I decided to use the project as a way to also raise awareness for women empowerment and artist upliftment, that along the way I was very unexpectedly given 40 bursaries that I got to award to South Africans needing to further their education. And it was an incredible privilege, but it had nothing to do with music, it had nothing to do with recording an album, but it had everything to do with making a difference. And I've come to understand as a result that all of us are journeying towards these material and physical goals in our lives, but it's essentially the higher intention we have for ourselves and the higher vision we have for our purpose in this world that creates those little gaps that unexpected miracles can sneak through. And probably the most unexpected outcome of this entire experience for me was somehow my story reached the ears of Edward de Bono's team in South Africa. And a few months ago, they took him an autographed copy of the album in which I thanked him for his inspiration. And I got to really experience this journey coming full circle from an idea that was born over a cup of coffee, scribbled on a napkin, using 6 thinking hats to guide my thinking on, was there a way to innovate in the music industry? To 4 years later, looking at a picture of the author of that book, holding a copy of the album that I had dreamt of one day recording, and knowing that I'd actually done it. And thank you. Thank you. And it's taken me on a beautiful journey that it was overwhelmed me with gratitude for everyone who said yes, for the fact that I'd taken the risk to do it. I'd stopped listening to that voice that said, don't think big, Verity. What chance does a girl at the tip of Africa really have of ever living her dreams? And I started listening to the voice that said, I can do things differently. I can make a difference. I can dare to try and fail if I need to. But because of that, I don't have to look back at the end of my life and wonder what it would have been like to sell an album that didn't exist. But instead, I'll look back and rejoice that with the help of 2,000 people, we created an album of nothing. And it was a hell of a ride. So I don't know what the road ahead holds, but that's what really excites me. But I hope that this story will be a reminder of what any of us is capable of when we give ourselves permission to take that first step in pursuit of a dream and an idea and just hang on with dogged determination. And that I can keep sharing what this beautiful country is teaching me and continues to teach me, that the best part of being South African is that the last 4 letters are I can. Thank you. And my wish for all of you is dream big and give yourself permission to shine. 'Cause if I die today, well, I hope I can say that I have no regrets. I did my best. I wanted to fly, was not afraid to try, and try I did. And if I lose all I've got, I hope that I will not forget how much I've had and still be glad that I dared to dream, was bold enough to believe, and believe I did. I'm gonna take this day and I'm gonna make it mine. I'm gonna take this moment, I am gonna shine. I'm gonna be grateful for my given time. Yes, I intend to shine. Yes, I intend to shine. 'Cause if I try today, let go and live the way that I believe, let me receive the best that is mine to taste, savor not let it waste. Oh, taste I will. I'm gonna take this day and I'm gonna make it mine. I'm gonna take this moment, I am gonna shine. I'm gonna be grateful for my given time. Yes, I intend to shine. Yes, I intend to shine. And I hope and I pray that everyone here will do the same. Yes, I hope and I pray that everyone here will do the same. That everyone here will do the same. 'Cause if you die today, well, I hope you can say that you have no regrets. You did your best. You wanted to fly, but not afraid to try, and try you did. And you were saying to yourself, I'm gonna take this day and I'm gonna make it mine. I'm gonna take this moment, I am gonna shine. Oh, I'm gonna be grateful for my given time. Yes, I intend to shine. I'm gonna take this day and I'm gonna make it mine. I'm gonna take this moment, I am gonna shine. I'm gonna be grateful for my given time. Yes, I intend to shine. Yes, I intend to shine. I want to close with some beautiful words from Marianne Williamson that were made very famous when they were attributed to Nelson Mandela's inaugural speech in 1994. Our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, talented, fabulous, gorgeous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. We're meant to shine like children do. And we were born to make manifest the glory of God that's within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in all of us. And when we let our light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And as we're liberated from our fears, well, our presence automatically liberates those around us. So what I'd like to leave you with today is that South Africa in this world needs a lot of light. Don't be afraid to let yours shine very, very bright. Thank you.